Hello, hi, it's Henry the Computer Guy, and you're welcome to our lesson number 29. And in today's lesson, we are going to learn about the meaning of computer hardware. Remember, we gave a simple explanation about it, and we say that these are specifically the physical or the tangible components of a computer. So, those things that you can see and feel and touch, they are the computer hardware. So, they are telling us that have you ever used a desktop computer? And that one is a question. I think you have ever used them. You realize that there is no any single part called a computer. That means that a computer is like a collection of all those components grouped together to form a computer. The keyboard, the mouse, the system unit, the monitor. They come together and form what we call a computer. There is no single item that we can call a computer or single part that we can call a computer, but just a collection of all of them makes up what we call a computer. And specifically, the tangible parts that you can touch and feel, such as the monitor, the keyboard, mouse, disk drives, printers, scanners, speakers, etc., are collectively referred to as the hardware. In other words, hardware is tangible. Components we can touch and feel. The opposite of hardware is software, which refers to the instructions or programs that tell the hardware what to do. And these ones are intangible. So the programs we install on our computer to tell the hardware exactly what to do are the ones we call the software. These programs or sets of instructions direct the operation of the computer. Remember, hardware alone cannot do everything. It has to be instructed by something we call a software. Let's say you have a printer. You need to get a print out of a document. But it will not know that, hey, Henry needs to get a document from me, unless we use a software and coordinate the hardware and tell it what to do. Then it gives you out what you want. Therefore, hardware alone cannot do all the tasks. It needs other items to help it. For example, the software, the human being. Are we together? And software is categorized into two, whereby we have the system software and the application software. What do they actually mean? System software, e.g., the operating system, OS, manages and coordinates all the other computer programs, the devices we connect there, the resources and activities. Everything that you do onto the computer is controlled by what we call the system software. For example, the operating system, e.g., Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows 10, Linux, Ubuntu. Those are some of the examples of operating system. It's like, actually, it acts as a base for other softwares to be installed onto your computer. Let me give you an example. For example, if you want to build a house, what do you do first? You buy a plot of land where the house is going to be built. Then afterwards, you have to buy the materials to build the house. Even on the computer here, we need something that will act as a base for other programs. And that is the operating system. And it is categorized as a system software. If you're lacking an operating system onto the computer, I tell you it will not power on. It will not boot, or it will not start. Then we come to what we call the application software. This is specifically a software that is used to solve a specific or exact need of the user. For example, word processors, paint, calculator, games. It is not a must for us to have application softwares onto our computers. We can do without them. It is not a must, but we always put them there when we want to accomplish a certain task. For example, I want to write a document. I will need my word processor. I want to make a calculation. I will need my calculator. I want some leisure, playing game. Then I will install that game, for example, Need for Speed, GTA, and others. So it is not a must for me to be having application software. I always use it whenever I need to accomplish a certain task, which is not the case with the system software. Let's continue. So when someone talks of software, they specifically mean the programs we put on our computers, we install on our computers. The programs you have on your phone, the WhatsApp, the Viber, the Google Chrome, the emails you use, Gmail, the antivirus you have, and so many others. A diagram is there. We have PowerPoint, we have Microsoft Word, we can have Google Chrome, we have the Gmail, Excel, or the spreadsheet, Linux, Java, antivirus, for example, SmartDAV, Kaspersky, AVG, Windows, Android. For example, many of you have phones that have an operating system which is Android. That is a software. That means that a software, these are specifically the programs that tell the hardware what to do. They are intangible. You cannot touch them, but you can see them. I think we have understood what a software and a hardware mean. Hardware is the physical or the tangible component, whereas the software are programs that are installed on the hardware or that tell the hardware what to do. Let's continue. And they're telling us that computer hardware, generally a computer is a system of many parts working together as shown in the figure below. It is not only one component that we call a computer. They work together or hand in hand to accomplish a certain or achieve a goal. So let's look at the diagram. Here we have our monitor. We have our base unit or the system unit or the system case. It houses components, as we said earlier, like the motherboard, the power supply, the random access memory, and others. We have some speakers here. We have the mouse. We have the keyboard used to enter characters. Speakers will give out sound. Printer will help us to make print out of on papers. The mouse will help us to make selections on the screen, on the monitor, and so many others. Those are the ones we call the computer hardware. You can see them, you can touch them, you can feel them. Note, or they are giving us a note down here. In comparison with the human being, hardware may be considered as the body, while software is the brain. So the body that we are having, it is tangible. So we can refer that one to as the computer hardware. But the brain, you cannot see it, but you can know that someone has the brains. Depending on what someone utters out, or what someone has said, or someone says always, you can know that this person actually has the brains. But you're not actually in real life seeing the brain. So in this case, it will act as our software. We continue. And they're telling us to imagine a scenario. Imagine you have been asked to type and produce a letter inviting your head teacher to a debate competition in your school on Tuesday at 2 p.m. in the main hall. You imagine that scenario. In this case, you can use a keyboard for typing, so it helps us to enter the characters into the computer. A mouse for controlling the cursor. Where do you want the cursor to be? You use the mouse and move it towards where you want it to be on the screen. These are input devices. The two we have talked about, the keyboard and the mouse, are input devices. The printer will be used to produce a hard copy of the work seen on the screen, and it will be output. Even the monitor or the screen is also output. Storage is done within the system unit, where a hard disk is the one responsible for this activity. Inside the system unit, we have a device that helps us to keep our data, and that is the hard disk. If it is permanent, then it goes to what we call the random access memory. RAM in the computer keeps information for a short period of time. That means that it only keeps, it's like a working area of a computer. So when you want to retain that information permanently, you need to keep it or store it or save it on the hard disk. A hard disk is non-volatile, whereas the RAM is volatile, meaning that the volatile loses data when power goes off. And the non-volatile, it will retain the data even if power is switched off. Even if your computer is switched off, that information is going to be retained onto the hard disk. We continue. We have an activity on what we have studied, for example, activity 2.1. Remember, we are in chapter 2. That's why we have activity 2. And it is the first one, so it is 2.1. And it is concerning parts of a computer. They're telling us that discuss and identify whether use of each of the devices labeled in figure 2.1, we saw it already, you rewind the video, is an input, output, storage, communication or processing device, and summarize your findings in the table below. So they have given us a table, which is table 2.1, which is parts of a desktop computer. We have label either number 1, then the name of the device and the category. So you're going to name the device from the other table, from the other image or figure. For example, the mouse, it is input. That means that you're going to come to number 2 and right there, for example, keyboard, it is also input. So you're going to try others out for me. Thank you for watching. It's been Henry the Computer Guy. If you're new to my channel, please click the subscription button. And you can also help me and share the link to those people who actually need it. So see you in the next video. I sign out. Bye-bye.